Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, David here, and welcome back to another ATLUS news episode. This one has information that some of you guys have been waiting for years, in its actual acknowledgement of Persona 1 and 2 and the desire from fans, but also from Persona series producer Mr. Wada himself, apparently, who has desire to remake both Persona 1 and 2 to duology. So let's get into it. So the information actually comes from a Gamespot article, a Gamespot interview with, of course, Persona series producer Kazuhisa Wada, and he was asked about a bunch of interesting things like deluxe editions of games, re-releases of games, right? Why does ATLUS always re-releases games like Persona 3 Reload, Persona 5 Royal, SMT5 Vengeance, things of that nature? So that was an interesting read. Why did they choose to do DLC for Reload, etc.? So lots of interesting things, but the reviewer actually had some things to ask Mr. Wada about Persona Remake specifically. So the first thing that I want to quote from this actual article, which is of course as always linked in the video description, is this quote. Suffice to say, there has never been more eyes on the Persona series, and this makes this studio's current transition and trajectory particularly interesting. For the past 8 years, the studio has solely released remakes, ports, and additional content pertaining to the series' existing entries. Even more notable, however, is that the team working on these projects, ATLUS's P Studio, has also seen an exodus of longtime Persona developers with Mr. Katsura Ashino, Shigenori Sojima, Yushiro Tanaka, Asuza Kido, Yushiro Kusada, and Yasuhiro Akimoto all leaving the Persona series to start a brand new team, known now of course as Studio Zero, and work on the upcoming fantasy RPG Metaphor ReFantazio. I can't help but wonder then, what's next for P Studio and the Persona series? And then the interviewer straight up asked Mr. Wada, as Persona 3 Reload wraps up, are there any plans to remake Persona 1 and Persona 2? So right, boom, here we go. The question was asked boldly, straight up. Of course, Mr. Wada was not going to announce anything, but still, this tease is clearly interesting, so this is what he had to say. It is not on my schedule right now, but I would like to do it someday. So let's speculate and let's talk about that for a second. Mr. Wada makes the decision here at Persona Studio. He's in charge now of Persona games. He's hard at work right now on the next mainline Persona game, Persona 6. Persona 5 came out years ago. The next big Persona project that ATLUS and P Studio is going to reveal is none other than Persona 6. No questions asked. Now, what does that mean for a Persona remake though? When is Persona 1 gonna happen? When is Persona 2 remake gonna happen? And let me crush some of y'all's dream. I still think, as of September of 2024, that a Persona 4 remake is going to happen. I'm sorry, my fellow Persona 1 and 2 fans. I think a Persona 4 remake is going to happen before a Persona 1 and 2 remake happens. I made a whole video talking about that a few months ago, so make sure you check that out if you're interested. I'm thinking Persona 6 releases 2025, early 2026 to the latest, but I'm really thinking late 2025. Then, right after that, Persona 6 spin-offs are gonna happen. Maybe the first spin-off comes out, and then boom, Persona 4 remake happens. Then you go back to Persona 6 spin-offs, then you do a Persona 6 Royal, and then, maybe then, Persona 1 and 2 remakes are happening. And you guys know me as the dumbass with actual expectations, but with this topic specifically, I want to protect myself and I want to protect you guys. So here's what I really think is happening right now, and here's what Mr. Wada is actually telling us in this interview. Hey, a Persona 1 and 2 remake is on the table. It's in the cards. It's on a board somewhere at ATLUS HQ. We know fans are asking for this. I would like to do it someday, as he said. But it's clearly not a priority, and it's probably not going to happen in the near future. My bet is they don't even know in which form these remakes, in what form these remakes would take, right? Is Persona 1 going to be a first-person dungeon crawler? Or is it going to be something that you can play like a Persona 5 or a 3 Reload, where you're full 3D, you explore dungeons, and you have full camera control and everything? The battle system. Those two games, their battle systems are very different than other Persona games. Are we changing that? Or are we leaving it as is? The calendar system and social links made Persona popular. What are we gonna do here? Are we gonna add those things to Persona 1 and 2, or is that still a thing? I am pretty confident that ATLUS has no idea when it comes to the answer to these questions that I just asked. I really think that they simply don't know, y'all. They want to do something with them. They know, they hear us, they know that Persona fans, older Persona fans want to play these games, but they don't know how. So I'm expecting these games to release in such a long time, these remakes to release in such a long time, that I honestly think that there's room for re-releases of these games and remasters with quality of life improvements of these games before that even happens. Midori, last year, also talked about that. Now, obviously, Midori, we know it was a whole... I didn't want to talk about her anymore, or him anymore, for a lot of reasons, but it's evident that the information that this person was getting is actually accurate. They got so many things right that this person, which isn't the person that we believed this person was, but this person still got some good info, and they were talking about a Persona 1 and 2 remake as well as a P4 remake, and I still do believe that it is actually a very good possibility that it actually happens at some point. So what do you guys think on this one? Persona 1, Persona 2 remakes, I'm thinking it's extremely early. We're gonna keep talking about it, we're gonna keep speculating about it. Let's not predict it though, because I don't think that's happening anytime soon. Next in line is Persona 4, but even before that, there is going to be Persona 6 and at least a spin-off before that happens. Maybe ports of other spin-offs that haven't been released on modern platforms, like a Persona Q Duology HD pack or something along those lines. So a lot is still possible. I'm glad to hear though that Mr. Wada is interested and would like to remake these games at some point, but as he said himself, it's not on schedule right now, and I don't think it is going to be anytime soon. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little news update for potential Persona 1 and 2 remakes. It felt really good to report that information, which is actual ATLUS staff and actual P Studio developers talking about these games in an explicit form. I like to see it. Thank you so much for watching, y'all. You have a good day. Bye.